Hello and welcome to another loot video, this time covering the Gauntlet in old school RuneScape. This video will be on the regular version or easier version of the Gauntlet as opposed to the corrupted Gauntlet, which is much harder. This is 100 successful completions and the loot from that, which took around 13 to 15 hours to finish, not including any failed runs or deaths. The Gauntlet is a mini-game that was added with the big Prifdinnas update in 2019. You will therefore need to complete the Song of the Elves quest to access the city and the activity. It's quite a unique piece of content in old school RuneScape with how it works, and the corrupted version remains an incredibly difficult challenge for a lot of players these days. Basically, it's a puzzle where you're dropped into a labyrinth of randomly generated rooms and you must gather supplies, equipment and armour in order to fight the Crystalline Hunlef at the end. This isn't so much a guide, so I won't sort of go too deep into this aspect. You've got 10 minutes to prepare overall, and then you will be teleported into the Hunlef's room regardless of how prepared you are. The Hunlef itself is an interesting boss with some cool mechanics. This version, the Crystalline blue one, is weaker than its corrupted counterpart. It still has a combat level of 674 and high offensive stats. It attacks with magic, ranged, and has a Stomp Attack if you go under it. It uses protection prayers, summons tornadoes, and parts of the floor become dangerous at different points throughout the fight. The regular Gauntlet isn't farmed much compared to the corrupted, and the drop rates here are exactly why. So the enhanced Crystal Weapon Seed, which makes the Bofur and Blade of Seldor, is dropped at an extortionate rate of 1 in 2,000. The Crystal Weapon and Armor Seeds are 1 in 120. The pet, known as the Young Lef, is also 1 in 2,000, like the Enhanced Seed. That said, the Elite Clue drop rate of 1 in 25 and a decent amount of Crystal Shards are a good reason to do the regular Gauntlet. 100 kill count here is also needed for one of the Master Combat Achievement tasks, so anyone looking to complete them will need to do that regardless of how much they like the content. Hardcore Iron Men also do the regular Gauntlet, as it is considerably safer than corrupted, and there is a chance of those big drops anyway, and decent crystal shards per hour, which are needed for charging crystal equipment, plus making things like divine potions. I would fight each Hunlef with full tier 1 armour and a perfected staff and bow, with the exception of some of the combat achievement tasks, which I'll talk about later. This prep would take between 4 to 7 minutes depending on luck on resources and demi-bosses. I'd take 2 Eggnil potions plus 6 to 10 paddlefish. The Gauntlet and Corrupted have had quite a few updates and quality of life changes over time, so now you've got things like the combo paddlefish, I call them, which act just like Quran ones. As I said, a typical prep would be 4 to 7 minutes if I was doing it without sweating too much. That's collecting the following items: 3 Friendbark, 3 Ore and 3 Linumterium, 2 Grimleafs, 2 Weapon Frames, a Crystal Orb and Bowstring, and 6 to 10 fish. If you're making armour above tier 1, then it is considerably more crystal shards needed and the prep will take longer, but of course it's going to help you in the Hunlef fight. 10 minutes is more than enough time to do any prep in the regular Gauntlet without being pushed too hard, as some people do tier 3 in the corrupted, and that is usually quite tight as you're given less time overall and you need to collect a lot more stuff. The Hunlef fight, while it can be a bit annoying, is great in my opinion, and actually a great stepping stone for getting better at PvM in the game. Even this version, the Crystalline Hunlef, is still quite punishing if you mess up and you've only got tier 1 armour on, and it's easy to take large amounts of damage in the space of a few ticks. Hunlef uses protection prayers, which will change every 6 attacks off prayer. It alternates between magic and ranged itself every 4 attacks. These attacks are very accurate, and they will hit you through prayer as well as hitting high off prayer, which is as much as 50. The Stomp Attack will happen if you're under Hunlef when the ticket attacks you, and this damage cannot be blocked by prayer, but you can tick it. Hunlef will summon tornadoes which chase you around the room, and if they get to you, they'll deal rapid damage every game tick. This damage is reduced depending on which armour you've got on. The floor also lights up and becomes dangerous at different points in the fight, so there's certain tiles you will need to avoid. As I've explained, a combination of these attacks can lead to a very swift death, so it's very important to focus at all times during this fight, especially in the tornado phase towards the end, and that in turn will improve your PvM at other places in the game, or certainly did for me anyway. The corrupted version of the Hunlef has the exact same mechanics, but has 1000 hit points, higher stats, and everything hits harder basically, and there's an extra tornado in the final phases of the fight, so 4 instead of 3. My average Crystalline Hunlef kill time was about 2 minutes, I'd say, and overall Gauntlet completion time was about 7 to 8 minutes if not sweating. Once you successfully defeat Hunlef, you can loot the chest in the lobby area. You'll get 2 rolls on the regular loot table, some crystal shards, and then an individual roll for each of the rare items and elite clue scrolls. If you die or don't finish the boss, you will loot something mediocre from the chest. The worst bit about this is all the loot you get is always broadcast to everyone in the lobby, so they'll know if you planked. It's kind of, you know, the walk of shame if you die, but if it's the regular Gauntlet and you die, it's more than the walk of shame, to be honest. Yeah, kind of funny in fairness, and very few people don't die at some point in this place. In terms of my track record, I died a few times learning the Gauntlet initially, and then occasionally throughout the rest of the 100kc. I'm a little clumsy when I PVM sometimes, and this place does have a way of stacking you out if you're not careful. So 12 deaths, so 100 out of 112 in total, and a completion rate of about 89%, so not too much time wasted. Just the 2 notable drops during my 100kc, and about all I expected, to be honest. So they were back-to-back to, say, a crystal weapon seed on 62kc, and then a crystal armor seed the very next chest on 63kc. A few elite clues too, but none of the mega rares, and just 1/20th towards those drop rates, I suppose. I didn't record every single chest and did the content on some different devices, so couldn't use the loot logger plugin that I normally use, and that plugin will record your death loots as well, so it can't really be used anyway unless you don't die, of course. Instead I had RuneLite take a screenshot of each time I looted the chest and manually added everything up before buying some of the stuff to demonstrate it in this price check. A bit tedious, but hey ho, it's a loot video. The 440 crystal shards aren't worth any GP on their own, unless you're out with them, of course, but if used in a profitable way, like making divine super combat potions, they're worth roughly 9k each, so contribute a further 4 mil to the total profit if I was able to do that. Otherwise, they're about 17k each to buy, I think, if you convert enhanced crystal teleport seeds. If you're an iron account, of course, though, you will probably need them to corrupt the boffer or blade, or charge your crystal armor, so yeah, the more shards you've got, the better. The Gauntlet has no cost to complete and no cost to die either, so the total profit from 100 regular Gauntlet completions is an estimated 15.6 mil and 156k per chest, looking at about 20 mil if I factor in the crystal shards, but without the unique drops and the shards, it comes to just 6.4 mil and roughly 64k per chest. There are some combat achievement tasks associated with the normal Gauntlet and Crystalline Hunlef, most of them pretty straightforward. So beating the Hunlef without taking hits off prayer, without making any mistakes at all, so no tornadoes, not stepping on any wrong tiles, no hitting Hunlef with the wrong attack style, stuff like that. Also using no Eggnil potions, using only 1 attuned or above weapon, and wearing tier 3 armor, and also wearing no armor. The speedrun tasks are tricky in fairness, being sub 5 and sub 4 minute completions. You also now need 100kc for the master combat task, though you'll see from my 100kc that this didn't come up as I'd actually completed the task before Jagex changed the amount of kc needed to 100. All of these are then repeated in the corrupted Gauntlet, which will give you a lot more trouble. Overall, I think the Gauntlet is a great piece of content to learn, and this version especially of it is very friendly to those of you not as experienced with that PVM, so I definitely recommend giving it a try once you've done the Song of the Elves quest. Personally, I'll probably keep doing lots of regular Gauntlet alongside a corrupted KC, which I'm going to get up and get towards 100, and then there'll probably be a separate video on that at point, and then I can compare the loots as well, and you can see just how much more profitable the corrupted version is. Thank you for watching the video, and I will see you in the next one.